They will cheer for your strength until it destroys you. They will celebrate your light even as it burns you alive. No one tells you that. No one warns you that the greatest heroes don't fall in battle. They fall in silence. There's a certain kind of soul the world leans on without thinking. The soul who shows up with answers when others collapse. The one who carries the unspoken weight of every broken thing while smiling as if it costs nothing. And for a while it feels like purpose, like destiny, like love. You are the steady voice in the storm. You are the one who remembers birthdays, who answers the late night calls, who pours out energy no one even sees you spending. Every thank you plants another root. Every look of admiration feels like another confirmation that you are doing what you were made to do. But there's a silence growing under the surface, a silence that gets heavier with every act of invisible service, a silence that asks a question you've been too busy saving others to ask yourself. Who carries you? You find yourself sitting in your car after solving someone else's crisis, staring at your own trembling hands. You scroll through your phone, not to text anyone, but to see if anyone thought to reach out to you first. You tell yourself it's fine, that being strong is what you're meant for, that love is sacrifice. But in the quiet, something starts to crack. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being a person, you became a lifeline, and lifelines are only called when someone else is drowning. Never when they're thriving. Never when they're simply grateful for you. You realize slowly, painfully, you can lose yourself doing something beautiful. You can disappear while saving everyone else, and no one will notice until the day you finally notice yourself. Only the wounded physician heals. But the physician who ignores their own wound becomes their own patient. You didn't set out to lose yourself. You simply saw someone hurting and you moved toward them. Again and again and again. You became the one who always knows what to say, the one who always shows up, the one who holds the weight no one else can bear. And for a long time that made you feel alive, needed, important, chosen. But love, real love, that doesn't ask you to bleed to be worthy. And somewhere deep inside, you know you crossed a line you never meant to cross. You stopped offering your heart freely. You started offering it in pieces, hoping someone would see how much it cost you to stay. You became the fixer, the counselor, the silent burden bearer. You became the strong one because you were too terrified to find out if you were lovable without the strength. You see it now, the endless advice you gave while your own voice went silent. The way you anticipated needs no one asked you to meet. The way you laughed at your own exhaustion, pretending it wasn't slowly hollowing you out. You became indispensable, and in doing so, you became invisible. They see your strength. They see your smile. They see the way you always seem okay. They do not see the nights you collapse into bed too tired to even cry. They do not see the silent conversations you have with yourself, bargaining for just a little more time, a little more energy, a little more of you to give. They do not see that the healer is bleeding. You trained them not to look. Carl Jung warned us about the shadow of the hero. The moment when the noble mission becomes a martyrdom. The moment when the light you carry for others becomes the fire that consumes you. And now, standing here, you see it too. The child who learned that love must be earned through usefulness. The partner who believed loyalty meant self-erasure. The friend who confused carrying others with connection. The savior was never just about them. It was about trying to save the part of you that was convinced love was conditional. But here's the truth you can no longer unsee. You are not here to fix everyone. You are not here to bleed quietly for the comfort of others. You are not here to be the hero in a story that forgets your name. You are here to live, to breathe, to exist as worthy, even when you are not saving anyone. You were never meant to carry everyone. You were meant to carry light. And that light starts with you. There is a burden so familiar that you stop noticing it's there. It moves like love. It wears the voice of compassion, but underneath it is something else entirely. It is the silent agreement you made with the world without even knowing. I will carry your pain so you never have to notice mine. At first, the rewards are real. They thank you for being the one who always shows up. They admire your strength, your wisdom, your unwavering presence. and part of you soaks it in like rain after a drought. But somewhere along the way it changes. You start saying yes before you've even heard the question. You start solving problems no one asked you to fix. You start setting yourself on fire just to keep the room a little warmer. And no one notices because you've trained them not to. You taught them you don't have needs. You taught them you don't get tired. You taught them that your light is endless, even as it flickers in secret. You sit in your car after another long night of being everyone's anchor, scrolling through your phone, hoping someone, anyone, has noticed that you're drowning. You rehearse all the reasons not to say anything. They need you, they count on you. You're strong enough to carry this, aren't you? But strength that never rests isn't strength, it's erosion. And here's the wound you don't want to touch. The better you are at carrying others, the less anyone believes you could ever need carrying yourself. The gratitude dries up, the applause fades, and what remains is a hollow expectation. You will be okay no matter what, and when you're not, they won't see it, because you made sure they never would. Bitterness begins to grow where love once lived, not because you stopped caring, but because you cared until you had nothing left to give. And still you tell yourself you should give more. But giving from emptiness is not noble, it's self-erasure. You remember the story of Chiron, the immortal centaur, the greatest healer of all. Wounded by a poisoned arrow, he could heal every soul but his own. And so he lived in quiet agony, helping others, all while carrying a pain no one could take away. Until one day even Chiron had to surrender. Even the immortal healer had to lay down the unbearable burden he carried alone. You are not here to live in agony behind a beautiful mask. You are not here to save everyone while losing yourself. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to matter, even when you are not rescuing anyone. There is nothing holy about self-destruction. There is nothing sacred about vanishing in service of others. And the longer you mistake your self-worth for your usefulness, the more you forget the truth. You were never loved because you carried everyone. You were loved because your soul, your presence, your being were always enough, even when you rest, even when you say no, even when you choose yourself, especially then. There is a moment when you simply cannot pretend anymore. It doesn't arrive with a thunderclap. It doesn't scream or demand. It just sits there, heavy and undeniable, until you stop running from it. You wake up one morning and the weight you've been carrying feels different, not heavier, just impossible. The thought of one more favor, one more emergency, one more sacrifice, it turns your stomach. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you finally see the cost of caring without limits. And for a terrifying, liberating moment, you let yourself collapse. You don't apologize for it. You don't try to spin it into a story about resilience. You don't try to make it look noble. You just fall. You stop carrying. You stop explaining. And in the falling, something beautiful happens. You realize the sky does not collapse with you. The people you saved do not disappear. The world keeps turning, and you finally start breathing again. The collapse you feared was not the end of you. It was the end of who you had to pretend to be. It was the death of the invincible, indispensable, invisible hero you thought you had to become to be loved. It was the beginning of someone else. You, whole, untouched by the need to prove anything to anyone. You grieve. Of course you grieve. You grieve the years spent thinking love had to be earned through exhaustion. You grieve the birthdays you organized for others while no one remembered yours. You grieve the times you listened for hours, then sat in your own silence, unnoticed. You grieve not because you're weak, but because you're finally telling yourself the truth. You were worthy all along. You just forgot. You forgot in the noise of being needed. You forgot in the endless tasks and favors. You forgot in the fear that if you stopped giving, you would disappear. But here, in the sacred rubble of collapse, you see clearly. You are not loved for how much you give. You are loved for who you are when you have nothing left to give at all. And for the first time, maybe in your whole life, that is enough. There is a silence after collapse that doesn't come from the outside. It rises from within, filling the spaces you once stuffed with doing, fixing, saving. It asks the one question you never had time to hear. Who are you when you're no longer carrying everyone else? At first, the answer feels terrifying, because when you strip away the rescuer, the caretaker, the strong one, what's left? For a moment, you fear there's nothing left at all. You sit alone in your living room on a Saturday night, not because you weren't invited, but because you finally realized you were tired of showing up for celebrations where no one truly saw you. You stare at the silence like it's a stranger. You wonder how long it's been waiting for you to stop running. The world taught you that your worth was in being needed, that love was a transaction paid in exhaustion, that your value was measured by how much you could bleed without anyone noticing. And so you gave and gave and gave, but underneath the giving was always a quieter voice, one you refused to hear. Please, don't forget me. It wasn't selfishness. It wasn't weakness. It was the voice of your own soul, begging not to be erased in the name of duty. Carl Jung spoke of projection, the unconscious act of seeing outside ourselves what we have lost inside. And now, staring into the mirror of your own stillness, you see the truth you hid beneath your service. You weren't just saving them. You were trying to save the forgotten parts of yourself. The child who was praised for being easy, quiet, helpful. The friend who was tolerated only when they were useful, and the partner who feared that love would vanish if they asked for too much. Every act of overgiving was a shield against the terror of being invisible. Every rescue was a hope that someone someday would finally see the depth of you. But now you see yourself, without needing to be needed, without the costume of strength, without the applause that always fades too fast. And what you see is not emptiness. What you see is astonishing. You see a soul that has been waiting, not to be saved, but to be remembered. You see someone who was always enough, long before the world demanded your usefulness. You see someone who deserves to be carried, to be celebrated, to be loved without condition. Not because you fix, not because you serve, not because you endure, but because you exist. And for the first time, you don't rush past that reflection. You don't silence it. You don't apologize for it. You meet it. You honor it. You decide to protect it, the way you once protected everyone else, because you finally understand the first soul you were meant to save was always your own. There is a kind of strength that does not come from holding everything together. It comes from letting yourself fall apart without losing your worth. It comes from remembering that you were never here to carry everyone. You were here to become whole. You were here to let your light rise, not be spent. For too long you believed love was measured by sacrifice. For too long you believed strength was proven by silence. For too long you believed being needed was the same as being loved, but none of that was ever true. Real love does not require your exhaustion. Real love does not demand your erasure. Real love does not celebrate your suffering. You were never meant to pour yourself out until there was nothing left. You were meant to overflow. You were meant to live so fully rooted in your own being that your light touches others without dimming your own. You were meant to walk beside others, not carry them, to love freely, not conditionally, to give joyfully, not to survive. You sit with this new truth like it's a fragile, glowing thing, and then you realize it's not fragile at all. It's fierce, it's unbreakable, it's you. You remember all the times you thought you had to earn your place. You remember all the nights you gave what you didn't have. You remember all the mornings you woke up feeling invisible even after carrying the world. And you realize you don't have to be the hero to be whole. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to save anyone to be enough. You don't have to burn out to be seen. You are the light you were looking for. You are the home you kept trying to build for everyone else. And from now on, you promise yourself this. You will not abandon yourself to be admired. You will not bleed to be celebrated. You will not vanish to be loved. You will rise. You will glow. You will give from a cup that never empties, because you will no longer give what you cannot afford to lose. You will stand not as a savior, but as a soul, steady, alive, radiant. And this time, when the world comes knocking, you will not lose yourself in their storms. You will be the quiet light they see in the distance. The light that shows what is possible, the light that says without a single word, you can save yourself too. If these words found you at the right time, if they spoke to the tired places you thought no one would ever see, share this light with someone else who needs it. Like it, save it. Subscribe, not just for more words, but to keep walking this road toward wholeness together, because the world doesn't need another hero burned to ashes. It needs you, whole, luminous, unafraid to shine. It needs you exactly as you are.